Assalamu alaikum, sisters and brothers. I'm Malik, and this is We Reflect the Light. This is where we look at current events that are taking place in the world today through the lens of the unsealed scriptures of the Bible. That gives us detailed information on what is taking place in the world today and what is going to take place in the near future. Sisters and brothers, we are at war. Sisters and brothers, the war in the Middle East, which is heaven. America, the US, and Israel attacked Iran on the 28th of February. Sisters and brothers, this war that the world is witnessing is going to bring this reality, this world as you know it, to an end. This world will trigger what they call World War III. But the unsealed scriptures of the Bible, this war is sure to be the apocalypse, a war of wars. Sisters and brothers, the war in heaven is on. There's no turning back. America and false Israel has sown a web of their destruction. Not just theirs, but the destruction of nations, the destruction of Britain, the destruction of Saudi Arabia, and other Arab Gulf state nations. Sisters and brothers, what we're witnessing will bring the outcome of what we're witnessing. America will be thrown out of the Middle East. False Israel will be sieged and destroyed. The dragon, Saudi Arabia, will be thrown out the Middle East as well as Britain. Sisters and brothers, this is the outcome. This will be the outcome of this war. Now, from scripture, from the unsealed scriptures, sisters and brothers, let's go into it. Let's do it like this. We can do it from there, and then I'll go. All right. We'll take it from here. The abomination of desolation. The abomination of desolation is a sign that was given for us to recognize what time we're in. Actually, each sign is given for the original man and woman to understand what's taking place from the unsealed scriptures. Now, sisters and brothers, the abomination of desolation. Therefore, when you see the abomination of desolation, which was spoken of through Daniel the prophet, standing in the holy place, let the reader understand. This abomination of desolation began on October 7th, 2023. False Israel's abominable, cruel destruction of the Palestinian people. The suppression of the uprising of Hamas in the Palestinians. They suppressed Hamas and the Palestinians with abominable, cruel destruction. And this would take place, as scriptures say, in the holy place, which is the Holy Land. So, sisters and brothers, the abomination of desolation is giving us and sharing with us a sign to recognize the time, to recognize what is coming, what scripture, the unsealed scriptures are sharing with us that is coming up on us and the world. What we're about to witness happen in the world, take place in the world. So, sisters and brothers, the abomination of desolation was spoken of, and it's only been shared with us by the messenger of the covenant, the breaker of the seven seals, Joshua, the Messiah, Master Suleiman. The only one that is sharing with us, giving us the understanding of what the abomination of desolation is. And this abominable destruction is taking place in the Holy Land, which is Jerusalem, the Holy Land, the holy place. Now, sisters and brothers, when you see this, then you will know that what you're witnessing and what the world is witnessing is the nature of false Israel in America. You will be able to understand how they're thinking, what their nature is. And the scripture share with us to know them by their works. Now, sisters and brothers, let's move. We're going to keep this moving, but when you see the abomination that causes desolation standing where it does not belong, let the reader understand. False Israel is an abomination, standing where it does not belong, because false Israel does not belong in the Middle East. They're not God's chosen people. They're false. Their whole existence, their whole being in being placed in the Middle East is to deter you or keep us from recognizing that we are the true seed of Abraham, that we are God's chosen people, and that the Abrahamic covenant applies to us. Abram's vision is a detailed message given and can only fit one people, one group of people. Two is a fingerprint of the reality of Abram's seed. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel is this abomination that is causing destruction throughout the Middle East, standing where they do not belong. Now, sisters and brothers, but when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains, and those who are inside the city must leave, and those who are in the country must not enter the city, because these are the days of punishment, so that all things which have been written will be fulfilled. Woe to those women who are pregnant, and to those who are nursing babies in those days, for there will be great darkness upon the land, and wrath to these people. Now, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, know that her desolation is near. Sisters and brothers, this war is directly connected to the original black man and woman here in the hills of North America. Sisters and brothers, false Israel is masquerading in our name, sharing with the world that they're God's chosen people. Now, with this religious eschatology that the Christians, the Zionist Christians, this Christian religion is backing up and is preaching and using false Israel to state and put in our minds that the covenant from God to Abraham's seed is already been fulfilled, and that the covenant, the actual vision of Abraham's vision of his seed happened hundreds of years ago, way back when, before Jesus came on the scene. So past 2,000 years ago. Sisters and brothers, this whole narrative is a lie. It's been put together and placed before us after Elijah Muhammad shared that we are the true seed of Abraham. And sisters and brothers, the scriptures bears witness to that fact. The scriptures are very detailed. The unsealed scriptures are very detailed in what the scriptures sharing. So there's no way that hundreds or thousands of years took place before false Israel was set up in Palestine. And Palestine is not the land that the covenant shared. The covenant, Abraham's covenant, shared from the great river Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, which is Arabia. That's the land that God made a covenant with Abram until his seed. God has given this land. Sisters and brothers, so this war we're witnessing, the world is witnessing. Sisters and brothers, the unsealed scripture keeps us informed with detailed information. Now, it's before the first bomb dropped. This detailed information had been shared with us time and time again by the messenger of the covenant. Up into each and every detail being carried out to this very day, with details being fulfilled, scripture being fulfilled, prophecy being fulfilled in your face in real time. Sisters and brothers, the outcome of this war is being made clear, even though there's so many lies, so much propaganda, so much disinformation that is blocking the truth from our people. Many of our people are not being shared with of what is going on. They're not getting the truth. They're only seeing what the propaganda that their enemies is sharing to keep the knowledge of what's taking place in the Middle East or in heaven from us, deterring keeping the truth, deterring our people from understanding the situation and the effect that this war is going to have directly on America and on us. Sisters and brothers, what we're witnessing in the Middle East, the conditions and the war itself will come to America. American soil, a physical war will be coming or taking place on American soil, sisters and brothers. What is taking place right now? False Israel will be destroyed first. False Israel's lying to the world, blocking the truth from our people, must be removed. Must be removed from the world. This lie is going to be erased, and the world will know without a doubt who God's chosen people are. And once the world knows who God's chosen people are, then the world will also know who's under judgment. Who's Satan and the devil? Whose world is this? The scripture states in Revelation that the devil and Satan will be set free to go out through every corner of the world, causing devilishness, causing bloodshed and mischief throughout the world. That they will rule the world, sisters and brothers. So, out of the Caucasian nations, it's not too hard to understand this, because the Caucasian nations never ruled the whole world. You have two world powers that have ruled the world. The Caucasian nations, 500, let's say, didn't even know nothing about this side of the world. Matter, they believed that the world was flat. However, they were let out of the Dark Ages in Europe and allowed to go all over the planet, not only congested in Europe or residing in Europe, able to go all over the planet, and it's caused mischief and bloodshed all over the planet. And this is their world. They're the rulers of this reality. There's no, it's nothing that can be shared. This is this world, right, as we know it, is under Caucasian rulership. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel being or saying that they're God's chosen people. Sisters and brothers, false Israel's destruction is going to bring their religious eschatology to a screeching halt. It's going to blow Christianity out of the water, blow it up in the faces of those who believe it, believe what's shared, what's been shared. Sisters and brothers, let me do it like this. Let's do it like this. All right, sisters and brothers. When false Israel is destroyed, this is a clip that is big of a Caucasian speaking on what false Israel's destruction will do to the religious eschatology or Zionist eschatology of the scriptures. Hold up, sisters and brothers. What's taking place? I just had it playing. Give me a moment. We might. Hold up, sisters and brothers.
Christ in the new covenant for believers to be people the love of God. How are we showing people the love of God? By supporting a genocidal slaughter of innocent people halfway around the world. How is that glorifying God? These people that are raising Israeli flags in their... And if the Iranian war goes on too much longer, the nation state of Israel itself might cease to exist. That is a distinct possibility. If that happened, it would blow the minds of Christian Zionists and blow up the false teachings of Christian Zionism. How would John Hagee, Robert Jefferson, Franklin Graham explain that? More importantly, what would the followers of Hagee, Jefferson, Graham do? You can stick around in those churches if indeed Israel ceases to exist as a nation state and the Zionist regime is destroyed permanently. You're going to stay in these Christian Zionist churches and keep lapping up that gobbledygook, that nonsense, which now they're going to have to go through spiritual gymnastics to try and conform what they said in the past with what is now the present and make it fit the verses that they've been talking about for the last 75 years. That would be a joy to watch how they explain this from the Bible. And if the Iranian war goes on too much longer, the nation state of Israel itself might cease to exist. That is a distinct possibility. If that happened, it would blow the minds of Christian Zionists and blow up the false teachings of Christian Zionism. How would John Hagee, Robert Jefferson, Franklin Graham explain that? More importantly, what would the followers of Hagee, Jefferson, Graham do? You can stick around in those churches if indeed Israel ceases to exist as a nation state and the Zionist regime is destroyed permanently. You're going to stay in these Christian Zionist churches and keep lapping up that gobbledygook, that nonsense, which now they're going to have to go through spiritual gymnastics to try and conform what they said in the past with what is now the present and make it fit the verses that they've been talking about for the last 75 years. That would be a joy to watch how they explain this from the Bible.
All right, sisters and brothers. So, the verses that he's speaking on, of how they are using verses of the scriptures to say false Israel is God's chosen people. And when false Israel is sieged and then ultimately destroyed, sisters and brothers, it is going to shock the world. And their religious eschatology that they have pushed on the world is going to be destroyed along with false Israel. Sisters and brothers. Now, say it like this. Michael, let me do this like this. Who is Master Fraud Muhammad and his angels, who are Iran and Syria, is going to will be at war with the dragon and the angels of it, the dragon and his angels. Now, Michael is Master Fraud Muhammad, and his angels are Iran and Syria. And the dragon is the house of Saudi Arabia, and his angels are America, Britain, and false Israel. Now, the dragon fuels this reality. These are the rulers of this reality, and the dragon fuels their reality. The dragon provides cheap energy to fuel Britain, false Israel, and America. Now, sisters and brothers, the God's angel, or Michael's angel, Iran, is at war with all four of these nations: false Israel, Britain, and America, as well as the House of Saud, Saudi Arabia, as we speak. And Iran is kicking their, can't say nothing less, ass. That's what it boils down to, sisters and brothers. Now, we know and are reflecting this light of the truth of what is about to take place, what is happening right now, and what is going to happen, sisters and brothers, that false Israel will be seized and destroyed. Now, sisters and brothers, right now we're witnessing a backfire. Everything that America does, everything that false Israel has done, is backfiring on them, as well as Britain and the House of Saud, Saudi Arabia. What we witnessed, false Israel in America carrying out in heaven on the Palestinian people, is the conditions that are right now being caused or dealt with by false Israel. And the conditions are worsening by the moment, by the day. Sisters and brothers, this same condition, famine, that they have starved the Palestinians, blockaded medical assistance, medical medical I don't know why I can't think of, excuse me, sisters and brothers, medical equipment, food, water, all these things have been blocked from the Palestinian people. They can't get medical attention. The schools is knocked down. All these conditions that false Israel has inflicted on them, as well as America, in the face of the world, in the face of the nations, where what the world has witnessed, sisters and brothers, and this assault on Iran, this war of aggression that America and false Israel, as well as Britain, because they're in it, and the House of Saud, is carrying out on Iran. The world is witnessing their nature. The world is watching, looking, and have come into a clear conclusion, because it is a clear vision of their nature that we're watching. And the scripture said, when you see these things, you must understand what you're witnessing. And it says, know them by their works. So we know that false Israel and America's funding, backing, supplying false Israel in this genocide. Not only that, is have their hands in on the genocide, in this war. Sisters and brothers, we are witnessing so the nations see that everything they don't, America, false Israel, Britain, the West, no laws apply when it comes to them. No agreements, no international law, no human law. The laws of humanity do not apply when it comes to false Israel, America, and Britain. None of that applies with them. They go far and beyond all laws. They're murderers. They're thieves. They're robbers. They're evil, wicked people. And you see their nature from their works. And the world is witnessing their works. Sisters and brothers. Now, in assuring that false Israel will be seized and destroyed, America will be thrown out the Middle East, these things have been given to you and us far before the first bomb dropped. And now, right now, the only thing that Iran is offering America is to get out the Middle East. For all American bases to cease existing in the Middle East, and America must leave. So, does that ring any bells? Is that not the light, the truth, the prophecy that the messenger of the covenant, the breaker of the seven seals, Master Suleiman, Daniel the prophet, Joshua the Messiah has been sharing with us? These details that we have been receiving far in advance, up to modern times of what's taking place. These details that no one else is giving us. No one else is speaking on but the messenger of the covenant. But Joshua, sisters and brothers, no one else is giving us detailed information. Now, sisters and brothers, Louis Farrakhan has said 3 is this the third year? 3 years, God sharing that he was told to be quiet after he proclaimed that the war of Armageddon has started. We don't see the war of Armageddon. Not even now. And God told him to be quiet. Well, he's being quiet because he don't know a damn thing. Him or none of his student ministers or even speaking on what's taking place. They're sharing with us, to watch the weather. We're not going anywhere. We're wicked. Matter of fact, they will not speak against false Israel in this at all. Sisters and brothers, this war that we're witnessing, the prophecy, the unsealed scriptures has shared with us exactly what we're witnessing, what we're seeing. Now, sisters and brothers, we're going to watch a clip or two, but we're going to take them one at a time and then go in and speak on them and identify them from scripture standpoint. And then we're going to bring this to a close with what's coming. What is about to be produced by this war. And how it's going to immediately affect the original nation, the original black man and woman here in America. Sisters and brothers, excuse me, sisters and brothers.
The silence didn't last 5 hours. Donald Trump wrapped up what can only be described as one of the most delusional national addresses in modern American history. A rambling, fact-free pep rally where he declared victory over Iran while offering absolutely zero proof, zero exit strategy, and zero understanding of the adversary he had just provoked. And then, almost as if on cue, the air raid sirens screamed across Tel Aviv.
Already accused of targeting Israel's food supply, now faces claims it is trying to pressure the country through its water systems. An Iranian missile strike has reportedly damaged water infrastructure in an Israeli city.
Eyewitness footage showed water from a burst pipeline flooding a street in Bnei Brak, east of Tel Aviv after a missile strike.
The universe has a brutal sense of timing, doesn't it? Because while Trump was still wiping the teleprompter dust off his suit, Iranian military forces executed a precision response that Washington's intelligence apparatus apparently never saw coming. We're not talking about symbolic retaliation or the usual tit-for-tat exchanges that have defined this conflict's opening weeks. No, this was something entirely different. This was a targeted, methodical dismantling of the occupation regime's most overlooked vulnerability, its water. Social media platforms, particularly X, exploded with footage that Western mainstream media is still struggling to frame properly. Cluster missile debris rained down across 11 locations in greater Tel Aviv. But the Iranian military wasn't aiming for military barracks or air defense batteries this time. They went straight for the arteries. Water mains in Bnei Brak were blown wide open, turning residential streets into rushing rivers. Sewage pipes were shredded, sending raw, untreated waste flooding into the very neighborhoods that the Israeli propaganda machine has spent decades presenting as untouchable. For the first time since the occupation's founding, Iran has taken the fight directly to the hydrological heart of the Zionist entity. And make no mistake, this changes everything. Before we dive any deeper into exactly how Tehran pulled this off and what it means for Netanyahu's panicking war cabinet, drop a like on this video, share it with everyone you know who's tired of Western propaganda, and leave a comment, even if it's just a dot. The algorithm hates independent voices, so every single engagement helps us keep honest journalism alive. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. We don't answer to corporate donors or Pentagon talking points. We answer to the truth. Let's talk about the speech that lit the fuse. because you cannot understand what just happened to Tel Aviv's water grid without understanding the catastrophic arrogance that preceded it. Donald Trump took to the stage on Wednesday night, April 1st, and delivered what can only be called a masterpiece of self-deception. He stood there looking directly into the cameras and told the American people, and by extension, the world, that the United States had systemically dismantled Iran's ability to project power. He claimed that Iran's military, missile, and nuclear capabilities had been decimated. He said, with a straight face, that the war's strategic objectives were nearing completion.
Tonight, I want to provide an update on the tremendous progress our warriors have made in Iran and discuss why Operation Epic Fury is necessary for the safety of America and the security of the free world. From the very first day I announced my campaign for president in 2015, I have vowed that I would never allow Iran to have a nuclear weapon. This fanatical regime has been chanting death to America, death to Israel for 47 years. Their proxies were behind the murder of 241 Americans in the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut, the slaughter of hundreds of our service members with roadside bombs. They were involved in the attack on the USS Cole, and they carried out the countless other heinous acts, including the just horrible, bloody atrocities of October 7th in Israel.
But here's the problem with that fairy tale. Not a single word of it was true. CNN's chief international anchor, Christiane Amanpour, immediately called out the glaring flaw. Trump admitted that 400 kilograms of highly enriched uranium remains inside Iran, meaning the primary justification for the entire war, preventing Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons, had not been accomplished at all. Iran even said the war has no end until America surrenders.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. همان گونه که گفته بودیم به دشمنان آمریکایی صهیونیستی اعلام می‌کنیم. اطلاعات شما از توان و قدرت نظامی و تجهیزات ما ناقص است. از ظرفیت‌های بسیار گسترده و راهبردی ما هیچ چیز نمی‌دانیم. امید نداشته باشید که مراکز تولید موشک‌های راهبردی، پهپادهای دوربرد تهاجمی، سامانه‌های نوین پدافند هوایی و جنگ الکترونیک و تجهیزات ویژه ما را نابود کرده باشید. که با چنین تصوری عمق باطلاقی که در آن خود را گرفتار کرده اید را بیشتر خواهید کرد. مراکزی که به تصورتان هدف قرار داده اید ناچیز بوده و تولیدات راهبردی نظامی ما در نقاطی صورت میگیرد که به هیچ وجه از آن اطلاع ندارید و هیچ وقت دستتان نیز به آنها نخواهد بود. زحمت شما را کم میکنید، مبنی بر اینکه موشکها، پهپادها و تجهیزات راهبردی ما را نشمارید، چون قطعا به خطا میروید و به جایی نخواهید رسید.
For me watching the speech, I can say that Trump talked a lot, but said nothing, recycling old threats and bravado without offering a single concrete plan for how the war would end. No timetable, no exit strategy, no diplomacy, no nothing. Just more threats to bomb Iran back to the Stone Age over the next 2 to 3 weeks. Press TV's fact check dismantled him piece by piece, noting that the war's stated goals, regime change, curbing missile capabilities, dismantling the nuclear program, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, had all fallen short. The Islamic Republic remains intact, its military commanders have been replaced, its missile capabilities remain operational, and the Strait of Hormuz is still closed to U.S. vessels. Trump declared victory while losing on every single front. And 5 hours later, Tehran responded in a way that exposed his miscalculations for what they are: deadly, unforgivable incompetence. The strike came in the early hours of Thursday morning, Israeli time, as the Passover holiday was approaching. Israeli media scrambled to report what they initially called a double strike from Iran and Hezbollah. 4 people were lightly injured, but the real damage wasn't counted in casualties. It was measured in broken pipes and flooded streets. According to Israel's Channel 12, debris from Iranian cluster missiles fell across 11 locations in the greater Tel Aviv area, including Ramat Gan, Tel Aviv proper, and critically, the ultra-Orthodox city of Bnei Brak, east of Tel Aviv. Anadolu Agency reported that one missile specifically targeted Bnei Brak's water network, causing a massive leak that overwhelmed local infrastructure. This wasn't a random barrage. Iran's military had shifted tactics. This was Wave 89. Over 100 heavy missiles and attack drones, plus some 200 rockets, but the payload that mattered most was the cluster warhead that tore through a major water main. Analysts are calling this a deliberate pivot from disrupting food supplies and telecommunications to something far more strategic, water warfare. And if you think that sounds dramatic, look at the footage emerging from Bnei Brak. Streets turned into canals. A bomblet from the cluster munition blew open a pipe and water gushed uncontrollably, flooding intersections and seeping into ground floors. But the water leak was only half the story. The same cluster fragments that ruptured the water mains also shredded sewage pipes. Haaretz confirmed that fragments landed at 2 sites in Bnei Brak, damaging sewage infrastructure and causing raw waste to spill onto the streets. The occupation's prized sanitation network, the pride of its high-tech image, was suddenly vomiting its contents into residential neighborhoods. That is not a military defeat. That is a humiliation. You have to understand just how profoundly this changes the battlefield. For decades, the Israeli occupation has built an elaborate, technologically advanced water infrastructure that serves as the literal lifeline for its settlements and cities. It's a system designed to sustain life in an arid, contested land. 5 massive desalination plants along the Mediterranean coast, Sorek, Ashdod, Palmachim, Hadera, and Ashkelon, produce the bulk of the country's drinking water, transforming seawater into something potable through energy-intensive reverse osmosis. Then there is the national water carrier, a network of pipelines and tunnels that transports water from the north to the south, originally drawing from the Sea of Galilee, or Lake Kinneret, as the occupiers call it. In recent years, they even started pumping desalinated water back into the Sea of Galilee in a bizarre reverse carrier project, spending nearly $300 million to keep their freshwater reservoir from drying up. It's a system that requires constant energy, constant maintenance, and constant control. And here's the thing about centralized systems. They're vulnerable. Every single one of those desalination plants sits along the coast, exposed to missile fire from the sea or from the air. Every pumping station along the national water carrier is a potential pressure point. And Iran just proved that they understand this better than the occupation's own military planners. But the sewage dimension is where things get truly catastrophic. And most Western analysts are missing this entirely. Israel has the highest wastewater recycling rate in the world, and about 86% of its sewage is treated and reused, primarily for agriculture. That's not an environmental success story. That's a dependency. The entire agricultural sector in the Negev Desert, which produces a huge portion of the occupation's food, relies almost entirely on treated sewage effluent for irrigation. And the beating heart of that entire system is the Shafdan wastewater treatment plant, located just south of Tel Aviv, near Rishon LeZion. This single facility processes over 400,000 cubic meters of wastewater every single day, handling the sewage of approximately 250 million people in the greater Tel Aviv metropolitan area. That's more than 90% of the region's total sewage output. If Shafdan goes offline, the entire Tel Aviv area has nowhere to put its waste. The plant sits on the edge of the dunes, and it's connected to the same coastal that ties together the salination plants. That means if sewage backs up, it doesn't just flood streets. It can contaminate the very pipelines that deliver drinking water. One Chinese analyst put it bluntly: the Shafdan plant is the artificial kidney of the entire Tel Aviv metropolis. Its pumps are custom made, weighing tens of tons each. If they're damaged, you can't just grab a replacement off the shelf. You're looking at months of manufacturing, shipping, and installation. The aeration system, where the bacteria that actually break down the waste live, is even more fragile. If power is cut or the system stops for too long, the microbial colonies die. Restarting them takes 3 to 4 weeks. That's a month with no sewage treatment in a city of millions. Streets flood with raw waste. Hospitals can't operate. Businesses shut down. People flee. Now imagine that scenario unfolding right now, today, as we speak. Reports indicate that the cluster missile fragments didn't just damage water mains. They struck sewage pipes at multiple locations. Al Jazeera broadcast footage showing a ruptured pipeline in Bnei Brak, spewing a mixture of water and waste into the streets. The Israeli military's Home Front Command has confirmed that rescue services are operating at multiple impact sites, but they're not saying how bad the contamination is. You have to read between the lines. When a government that never admits weakness suddenly allows residents to leave protected spaces and doesn't issue immediate all-clear statements, something is very wrong. The evacuation orders that followed the strikes weren't just about missile debris. They were about sewage, raw, untreated, disease-ridden, sewage-flooding neighborhoods where families live, where children play, where elderly people who can't easily evacuate reside. And where exactly are they supposed to go? The entire country is under missile threat. Northern Israel is facing Hezbollah rocket fire. Southern Israel is within range of Palestinian resistance factions. The illusion of safety that the occupation has carefully cultivated for decades just evaporated. Let's be brutally honest about what Netanyahu and his war cabinet are facing right now. This is not a military problem they can solve with more airstrikes. You cannot bomb your way out of a broken water main. You cannot deploy the Iron Dome to intercept sewage. The very infrastructure that sustains the occupation's existence is now a liability. Iran's military has figured out something that everyone should have seen coming. You don't need to destroy tanks or shoot down jets to cripple a modern state. You just need to break the pipes. And Tehran has plenty more where that came from. This was wave 89. There will be a wave 90. There will be a wave 91. Because here's the uncomfortable truth that Trump's speech tried so desperately to obscure. Iran is not defeated. Iran is not decimated. Iran is methodically, patiently dismantling the occupation's capacity to function as a normal society. The Islamic Republic has learned the lessons of every previous confrontation. They know that the occupation is a fragile construct built on technology, on centralized systems, on the illusion of invincibility, and they know exactly where to strike to shatter that illusion. Stay with us as we track this developing story. We'll have more updates on the true scale of the damage, the international reactions that are already pouring in, and what Iran's next move might be. The game has changed, and for the first time, the occupation is the one running out of time. Subscribe, stay informed, and never let them tell you the other side of the story. This is honest journalism. This is the truth.
All right, sisters and brothers, we do not own the rights to that clip. Sisters and brothers, now, this gives us the understanding of what's taking place inside of false Israel. Their food supply has already been affected by the war. Now, a detailed understanding of what their water supply, you can't live without water, and their sewage, how it is possibly mixing, how they use their sewage to fertilize or use the water, use their sewage water for their agriculture. So, it's showing us the effect that false Israel is dealing with right now. That right now they're having a problem with their water, their sewage, and you cannot live without water. These desalination plants that make their drinking water take the ocean water and make it able to be drunk is now unstable. Unworkable is not the excuse me. So they're in a situation, sisters and brothers, showing you exactly what scriptures share. Now they're facing what the conditions that they were putting on them, that they have been implying on the Palestinians. Lack of water, um, lack of proper living facilities, no running water, excuse me, no sewers, food shortages, babies, children dying from malnutrition. Now, sisters and brothers, these are the things that false Israel will be facing and is going to face. Now, their water supply is being affected. Sisters and brothers, excuse me. As the reporters share, nothing that the Trump shared made any sense, and it was not the truth. Iran is not been crushed. Their weaponry has not been crushed, destroyed. They're operating in top they're at top operation. Sisters and brothers. Now, excuse me. A little water. Let us bring this to a close. Now, sisters and brothers, false Israel's destruction is going to cause us, the original black man and woman, to know without a shadow of a doubt that we are the true seed of Abraham. It's going to allow the world is going to know without a shadow of a doubt that we are the true seed of Abraham. That is also going to let our enemies know that they are being judged. It's letting our enemies know that we are coming, that our birth is about to take place, the birth of a nation. We will rise as a mighty army, as a mighty nation overnight, sisters and brothers. Now, our vision of returning home, our vision of returning to our land is what they have been blocking from us. They don't want us to understand that we're going home. We're not staying here. That we we have a land of our own. Sisters and brothers, that vision is going to come clear when false Israel is destroyed. And the house of Saudi Arabia, the dragon, is waiting to attack us, to try to keep us, our nation, from being born, or keep us from rising as a nation. Sisters and brothers, America is going to attack us as well. America is going to attack all blacks. Sisters and brothers, America has set a trap for us. And we're watching these things being set up, but our people do not understand what's taking place in their face, in their eyes. Our people are distracted by sports, life, and are not putting one and one together to get to two. They're not seeing what's taking place around them, and they're not in the light, the truth of what is taking place is being blocked from every elevated place. Sisters and brothers, excuse me. All right. Now, what we're looking at, sisters and brothers, with this ICE, these ICE facilities, and the scripture states that many of our people, many are going to lose their lives for the lack of knowledge. Sisters and brothers, the lack of knowledge. For the lack of knowledge, many of our people are going to lose their lives. Sisters and brothers, the truth is being blocked from us. This light that we're reflecting for our people to understand what's taking place from the unsealed scriptures. Connect the scriptures, the unsealed scriptures, with what's taking place in the world today. This detailed information that is being given to us to be successful, sisters and brothers, this excuse me, information from the unsealed scriptures are for us, letting us know ahead of time for you to be aware of what's taking place so you can know what to do, know how to position yourself to get where you need to be when you need to be there, to prepare for what's coming. Sisters and brothers, we're responsible for ourselves, for our children, for our brothers, for our sisters, for our nation. We have to pass the light to reflect this light of the truth to our people, so they can understand that ain't no Jesus gonna pop out the sky that they're waiting on. That's a lie to keep you away from understanding who Joshua is. Sisters and brothers, the Abrahamic covenant, Abram's vision, is a detailed message that in reading, your nature should just grasp to what's being shared, because it's speaking directly about us. Sisters and brothers, man, what they're setting up, these ICE facilities that are ballooning up all over America. They're not penitentiaries. You're not allowed to see in them. And this is what Trump says. This ICE thing is part of Let's Make America Great Again. So Trump has given this ICE mechanism millions of dollars to operate, to set up. So, sisters and brothers, what does or do you, what is make America great again? When was America ever great? When we were physically locked up, enslaved, beat, afflicted, tortured. Think on that, sisters and brothers. Let's make America great again. Then you have ICE facilities ballooning all over America where they can just snatch people, us, off the streets and lock up without any justified reason, any warrant. This the whole concept of it is like they're doing overseas, that they're doing in Gaza, that they're doing in Iran. A hostile takeover, just above, no law, no reason, just doing what they want to do. No justification. They don't have to answer to why and what they're doing. And this is what Trump is. They're backing this whole ICE system. Now, sisters and brothers, that's all right. Let's do this right here. This is, again, what Scripture shares, sisters and brothers. This is what they're preparing for. This is what they're doing and have been doing, sisters and brothers. Exodus chapter 1, verse 9 through 10. Look, he said to his people, the Israelites have become too numerous and too powerful for us. 10, come, let us deal shrewdly with them, or they will increase even more. And if war breaks out, they may join our enemies, fight against us, and leave the country. Let us deal shrewdly with them. Sisters and brothers, America has been dealing shrewdly with us since we've been here. Shrewdly. On every level, they have been attacking us, trying to get rid of us, trying to kill us, find ways to poison us in the food. Attacking us straight out, labeled us as animals, dehumanizing us, dehumanized us. Penitentiaries, they've sent our economic system, our economics across seas so it wouldn't benefit us. We're at the bottom by design, up under the foot of America. We are consistently hated and despised by this America's system, systematically dealt with shrewdly. The system alone, the police, everything about it is against us, sisters and brothers. This whole system is against us. Now, sisters and brothers, we're going to watch this. This is, you have to listen, because if you don't understand what you're witnessing, if we don't grasp the light, grasp the knowledge that's been given for you to be successful, this is a time, this is a dreadful time that the world is going into, but this is also a great time for us. This is when we come together as a people. This is when we're rewarded and taken back to our land. This is a time that we take back everything that has been taken from us. This is the time that we revenge and stand up for what they have done to our sisters, our women. Sisters and brothers, this is our time, and we must pass on this knowledge. We must reflect this knowledge and let our people know. So we have to pass it on, because our people are going to suffer for the lack of knowledge. That is what's going to cause many of our people to lose their lives, because before they understand what's going on, our people don't even understand, because of the lies that are being pushed on them. The media's lies and deceit of what's taking place. So you will not be preparing yourself. So when the domino effect, when the consequence roll up from this war, we won't be ready for what they know what's going to take place. Now, let us listen as we bring this to a close.
Criminals, these violent-hearted criminals that we were promised, but it is children and families and parents being taken from communities who have roots in these communities. There's people who have humanitarian parole, others who are married to U.S. citizens. There's pregnant women giving birth to newborn babies inside this facility.
So, John, as we grapple with the question of can shame motivate change, is this a moment where, maybe not around Epstein, but around immigration, when we hear these stories inside places like Dilley, does that spur the administration to change? Or is it just that they put a different face like Tom Homan on their immigration effort and continue doing the same thing?
No, Allie, I think there are a couple things to say about this aspect of the story. One is, obviously, we're building tons of new ICE detention facilities. You know, there's been controversy about that. I know you've covered it. That's one of the new focuses in this story. And I think it's one of the great, unlike what's happened in Minneapolis, where we got to see so much, you know, the deployment of so many cell phone video cameras, so many people who were out taking images of what's going on there. What's happening in those detention facilities is largely happening behind closed doors. We have very little visibility into it. And if you imagine, just without, you know, being able to, the reporting that we're reading, like the reporting from the Bulwark, is terrifying. But, you know, it's just a drop in the bucket. If you think about what happened in Minneapolis on the streets, imagine that's what's happening in clear public view. What's happening behind closed doors. one imagines, one can reasonably speculate, is considerably worse. And so I think there's going to be a lot of focus on this particular issue. I don't know. I mean, I'm never going to make predictions about what the administration is going to do. I think that the politics of this have been nothing but bad for the Republican Party and for Donald Trump. Their numbers have shown that. It's been pretty incontrovertible. The question is when, not so much shame, because I think on the part of the administration at least, there is not a lot of shame when it comes to this policy. And I do think that your earlier suggestion and the Tom Homan suggestion that we're going to see more ICE raids, that every one of these cities from Los Angeles to Washington to Chicago to Minneapolis has been a dress rehearsal for the next city. I don't think there's any reason not to think that there's going to be another city after Minneapolis. I don't think shame is the way that's going to stop them from doing any of these things. I do think that political pressure, whether that's the kind of pressure that the House or the Senate Democrats are putting right now in terms of trying to get ICE reformed through the budgeting process and through the partial government shutdown that we're seeing, or whether it's at the ballot box fear of what's going to happen come November, because if Republicans and Donald Trump stay on the path they're on right now, they're, I think, going to pay a pretty significant price for these policies at the polls in November. And that is the one thing that might motivate some kind of change.
Yeah, it's also a good reminder the Department of Homeland Security is actually shut down right now because they failed to meet the deadline on Friday and they didn't negotiate on Department of Homeland Security funding. And then when it comes to getting inside these detention centers, the only way we know this information is from investigative reporters like Adrian, but also the investigative outlet ProPublica, which reported that more than 3,500 people have been held at Dilley since it reopened. More than half of them children, and at least 300 minors have been detained longer than the 20-day legal limit. DHS and ICE haven't responded to questions about medical care inside of that facility. But then when we talk about the fact that these operations are ballooning and will go to other places, let's zero in on Maine. Because immigrant rights activists say they're seeing increased immigration enforcement activity in the rural part of the state, raising concerns about disruption.
Sisters and brothers, you're witnessing dress rehearsals taking place, moving from the East Coast to the West Coast to the Midwest through American cities in black neighborhoods. These ICE facilities are ballooning up by the dozens. No, that by the tons is what was shared. Sisters and brothers, Homeland Security is shut down. However, they're using ICE agents to do Homeland Security work. TSA work. Homeland ICE agents are doing that now. Sisters and brothers, America is, and Britain is responsible for setting up false Israel. They're responsible in sharing that false Israel is God's chosen people. This eschatology, they're responsible for the Christianity pushing this narrative because they're blocking the truth from the original black man and woman. They cannot allow us to know that we're God's chosen people. Sisters and brothers, our rise is their destruction, their fall. They're not going to just sit around and watch us rise because they know our rise is their fall. Now, sisters and brothers, We're witnessing this ICE situation, this ICE facilities, these ICE agents. They're above the law. They got more laws than the police. More. They're, think on that. Where they just pop out of nowhere, but the law that they're using is the DOD, Department of Defense Directive 5240. Now, which gives them the right to use lethal force against American citizens, which means against us. Sisters and brothers, with what is taking place and the effect that we're about to witness here, not just the world is about to, the world is already, a lot of places is already being affected by the war. It's an energy crisis that is collapsing the economy of nations. They do not have the energy that it takes to operate their countries. Their needs for self-sustain themselves. To sustain themselves. Sisters and brothers. And many of our people think that this is not coming to America, or America has it all figured out. Sisters and brothers. And that, this America or the Caucasian, they're not going to attack us. Now, sisters and brothers, they're about to be starved out. Famine. Do you understand when the economic system collapses? This lack of jobs, not just that, sisters and brothers. America is going to go from this war to a war with NATO, a war with Europe. Immediately after this war, America goes, the war of Armageddon, or Armageddon, will begin immediately after America is thrown out the Middle East. Sisters and brothers, the conditions that we're going to be in, sisters and brothers, get at least 30 to 60 days of food, perishable foods, something that you can put in your car, ride with, move around with immediately. Get you some containers, gas containers, try and keep at least a tank of gas in containers so that you can, in the case of a gas shortage, you can at least get to a place of safety. Sisters and brothers, this is what is going to take place. And the details that we're reflecting from the unsealed scriptures, from the clear, perfect message that has been given to us by the messenger of the covenant, the breaker of the seven seals, Master Suleiman, Daniel the prophet, Joshua, the Messiah. The message is what is absolutely being carried out in real time in your face. So the truth, sisters and brothers, is being made so clear that for what you're witnessing in the world is bearing witness to this light. Everything that you're witnessing is exactly causing America, for although don't know the outcome of the war, you've been told, and is the outcome is becoming that. Now, that's the only let's say it like this. Iran that's the demand that Iran is giving America and false Israel. False Israel will not be allowed to basically exist in the Middle East. America bases, military will not, they have to go thrown out. That's what this means. Thrown out. They will not, and as you see, false Israel, they're not going to give up. So much so, false Israel is going to take it another step. False Israel is going, and it's known because even just looking, watching, and knowing the nature of false Israel, they're saying that Trump can't control false Israel. False Israel is Netanyahu's running Trump. And false Israel, Netanyahu is going, scripture lets us know that they're going to try to use nuclear weapons. And the God, Michael, Master Farah Muhammad, is going to step in and cause their weapons to dud, be a fizzle, duds. And false Israel, as you see it, America kicked out the Middle East. These Gulf states, Sunni Muslims, that they're against the Shia Muslims. And the House of Saudi Arabia, they're going to be thrown out. All these things is what you're witnessing. False Israel is being destroyed, methodically destroyed by Iran. With that, Sisters and brothers, the messenger of the covenant will suddenly appear in the messenger's temple. The Lord whom you're seeking will suddenly appear in the messenger's temple. Sisters and brothers, with that, I'm going to bring this to a close and greet you in the greeting words of peace. Hold on. Sisters and brothers, we're responsible. You're responsible for this message. You're responsible, reflecting this light, giving this truth. This is truth that is given through the unsealed scripture to Abraham's seed, to God's chosen people. God's chosen people are responsible for getting this message out. The Levites are a priest tribe. We have to give this message out to our people so they have knowledge of what's taking place. They can prepare. They can get ready for what's about to happen. Sisters and brothers, they're blocking the truth from every elevated place. And many of our people are going to lose their lives simply because of the lack of the knowledge of this truth, this light that they need to walk through this time of darkness. With that, I'm going to greet you in the greeting words of peace. Assalamu alaikum.